My lips are sealed.
The calm before the storm, James. Calm before the storm. Hey, I've got a new line. I've got to use it on you, James, before we start. I want you to know, I always liked you. Past tense. We're on the air. This is Monday, August 12, 2019. It's 4:30 p.m. We're in the Thomas J. Smith Council Chambers. This is a work session tonight, so we appreciate those that have come tonight. But unless you're on the agenda, you probably won't be invited to speak tonight, so that would be for next week. We're going to roll downhill tonight. We'll be having Mayor's Awards. Number 2 is a presentation of Burlington Sesquicentennial Belt Buckles, number 19, and number 83 by former Mayor Bill L. And we appreciate you, Bill. Looking forward to that. And number 3 is a public hearing, consideration of a lease agreement with the Des Moines County Historical Society for the Hawkeye Log Cabin in Crapo Park. Mr. Chisholm.
So this is lease with the Des Moines County Historical Society. Realized that their previous lease had expired a year or so ago for the operation of the log cabin in Crapo Park. So we're bringing this forward to renew. Their board did meet, and currently the log cabin needs some repairs. They've done an assessment of approximately $8,000 based on their assessment of roof repairs that are needed, and they did not feel, based on their current financial and staffing status, that they'd be able to continue to operate the log cabin. Something Ryan has had conversation with them on. We are looking at some other resources or outside resources that potentially could cover that cost, but did want to make you aware of that. They did not want to move forward with the lease, but it may be something that we'll be able to bring back if we're able to identify those funds. So we put this on the agenda, and then their board voted or met and voted not to renew the lease. So I don't know if we need to just pull it off and wait and see if there's other resources that are may become available, or.
Yeah, it doesn't need to stay on for next week. It's already an expired agenda, but we did want to leave it on here as an action item just so we had the discussion about where the status was on it.
But yeah, they feel they're not able to raise those $8,000 independently, and then just staffing's difficult during the summer as well. But it's not something, regardless, that the city would staff and keep open, but would try and at least maintain at some level regardless. But we are having some conversation to see if there are some resources maybe to cover that cost or a portion of that, and then maybe have further discussion.
So we just pull it for now then?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Yes?
Yes, sir. We good?
Yes.
Okay, hopefully
Question,
we can get that.
Linda?
Oh, I'm distraught because I like that log cabin, and I hope that we can find the resources to get the roof fixed and reopen that, because I think that is a vital asset to our community.
Yeah, I think that maybe the staffing of it being open is probably a separate issue that, but it doesn't sound like that's something that we're gonna be able to solve for them.
No, we could help to identify funding resources, but as far as staffing, that's still kind of volunteer on their end that we wouldn't be able to take on as a Parks Department.
I think it'd be fun. That's on my goal list when I retire. That'd be fun. Dress up in pioneer clothing and hang out at the log cabin. That'd be fun.
She's a special lady.
So we need somebody that wants to be Laura Ingalls Wilder and do that, because it'd be a lot of fun.
Or we'll take 5 words, Friends of the Log Cabin. So keep that in mind as well. Are we good?
Yes.
Okay. Number 4 is a resolution awarding bid for the 2019 Dankworth Park Pool Improvement Project, continued from the August 5th, 2019 City Council meeting. Mr. Tisland.
So this one has some additional comment as well. Part of the resolution stated that the city would not enter the contract until approval by the Iowa Department of Public Health. The swim club did have submit some initial plans to the department, and they got some comments back on items at the pool. Primary one being the circulation system with the wading pool, and the main pool is a shared system. And under current Department of Health requirements, those are not allowed to continue. as a shared system. So they did talk to a contractor or consulting group on what it would take to separate the two systems and what that cost would be. And that initial estimate came back at $150,000 to separate the baby pool from the primary pool. That's not a cost that the city has on hand just to cover, and it's not something that the swim club has available at this time as well to cover. Regardless of that, they still need to submit final plans to the Department of Public Health and make sure, see if those all get approved or if there's any other items. They've talked about the option of submitting plans that show the circulation system separated and then also removing the baby pool, and wanted to have that discussion with council, not a decision, but thoughts on that
Removing the
option of
baby pool.
removing the baby pool would be a no-cost option. The cost of moving a lot of the systems from the new concrete pad to the, adjacent to that onto the baby pool site could be a no-cost option for the contractor, but obviously it would be a change in service. Something we see a lot of use on, families that come and still use that baby pool and have maybe older kids use the bigger pool, so that would be definitely a change of service there, and wanted council input on that going forward. We would not recommend approval of the plans or approval of the contract until we receive approval from Department of Public Health. So we wouldn't recommend approving this at this time until we get all the comments back from Public Health, and then have the council have an option or some input and discussion on what direction you want to move forward with that. If this project were to occur, the separation of the circulation systems would either have to occur, or the baby pool would have to be removed essentially. I think those are the two options with this project moving forward. And I don't know if you have any other input from the swim club, if that, make sure I'm not speaking incorrectly here, but.
What's your favorite part, the baby pool?
Yeah, I love the baby pool. I do.
So the one thing that I'd add to what you just said is,
Do we have
Right.
to say his
Okay.
name?
Ryan
give us
Ritter,
your name and address.
117 Glendale
Thanks.
Drive.
Thank you.
John Freeling, 6093 Madison.
Thank you.
She's out back there. So the one thing I'd add to what he's saying is, if you guys plan on, even if we don't do the project, and you guys plan on redoing the concrete, which has to get done before the pool reopens, you're gonna have to turn plans into the state. That's what Brad told me. He'll have to turn plans into the state to redo the concrete. The state won't look at any plans unless that separation is in it. So whether we do it or you do it, someone's gonna be separating that baby pool out before you can, anything's gonna happen. So,
See, that wasn't my understanding.
I emailed John at the state just to clarify what triggers it. Is if we just do some patching?
Patching probably wouldn't require it,
So
so
that-
you could patch and kind of limp along for
Yeah.
several years until, but at some point, the entire deck has to be redone, or something has to be, any major change or substantial change, and I don't know the exact definition of that, but at that point, the separation would have to happen, so.
so you really aren't getting away from separating that out at some point.
But that could be several, that could be several years away, but.
Several years away for something like that, though, sounds it's a whole lot more palatable, first off, for me. You know,
It-
we're running a tight one, and we've already got some issues already going into, well, closing out this year, and, man, that's a tough one.
On that note, though, you have $100,000 worth of concrete work to do too. So right now, it's our money going into the concrete work. If we don't do our project, it's your money going into the concrete work. So you're on the hook before you open it for at least that.
No, we need to clarify that. As John just mentioned, if we patch and limp along, it might be 2 or 3 years for that 100,000.
I thought that you said it was enough that it's.
No.
No.
The patching can be done. It's-
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
The other thing is, I mean, so you know, like you said, you didn't nobody anticipated this. That nobody, we had no idea until we submitted the plans to the state. This is all new to all of us. We found out on Friday.
Okay.
So this was not anything that was ever anticipated. That our intention was never to nobody wants the baby pool to be closed. Nobody wants that. But now we're at a point where we need to have, just a decision. How do we move forward? You
Yeah,
know,
'cause-
and this is something that, like Ryan is saying, that when the concrete work would have been done.
Can you move in
by-
close to that mic, just so I don't?
When the concrete work would have been done, I mean, this would have come up at, you know, when that was done, when you guys had scheduled it, you know, a few years from now. So, you know, unfortunately, we're just having to deal with it a few years sooner, but we just need to know, how do we proceed? No, like you said, we don't wanna take away any services, from the community. The idea was to create more services for the community and make it a year-round pool, you know, and unfortunately, due to the new code with the state, that now we're having to deal with this, difficult decision.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I was nervous about the pool heater, because we didn't have clear language on who was gonna pay what, and that was only 35 grand. So 150 and then plus 35, you're looking at 200 grand by the time you have a few change orders. Anyway, that would be a tough one for me. We don't have the dollars there to do that at this point. So like you would say, it would be patch and limp along, which is what we've done in the past, but
I'm still cool with that, though.
yeah, that's a
mean-
tough one. I hate to lose this opportunity.
Well, we gotta hear back from, the Department of Public Health first, right? Before-
Yeah, we talked about submitting
What
both
we're gonna do is submit
options.
two sets of plans to the state that show it both ways, so that could allow that process to move forward while the discussion takes place.
Okay.
Because there's apparently one guy that's in charge of all this stuff, and he's saying it could be 4 or 5 weeks to approve plans. And so we're gonna send both sets of plans to him and kind of move through that process at the same time as this discussion takes place.
Yeah, I would not be in favor of losing the wading pool. I'll just tell you that right up front. But,
I have to say the same. I don't wanna lose that. Do you guys have any other questions or comments?
so where are we at then? If we're still looking for answers, are we pulling this, or are we voting no, and then we start all
I don't know
over?
what, might have to check with Kathleen what the best route is there. If
Okay.
we just continue it,
The la-
or table it.
The
to
last time you
non-determinate-
continued it to a future,
To this specific meeting. So I'll check with Kathleen if we need to table it again or just pull it or.
you probably need to continue it
continue
again.
it.
Okay,
But yeah, it would
Maybe
be
table it to
Kathleen
an
to answer
indefinite
how
meeting.
that works.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, time is of the essence, right? Because you guys need an
So we're up
answer
against
to, don't you?
To meet what they're trying to accomplish, if, with the way the request is from them, asking the city to cover the cost on that, you would, I mean, you can do that. You'll have to take items that are on your CIP plan and pull them off.
Man, I've got items on the CIP that I'd like to squeeze on that aren't due.
So, I mean, it's just, there's a limited set of dollars that's available to do those things, unfortunately.
Dagnabbit. All right, well, it's continued for now, that's where we're at, so hopefully some good news happens here in the next couple of weeks.
We'll
Some decent
bring this
news.
back once we get all the comments from the Department of Public Health. And I don't know if we want any further discussion on this. Regardless, I guess, the initial project was to be completed by November. If we don't get comments back until later this winter, we may have to rebid.
It sounds like it's
regardless.
reasonable to expect that we'd have comments back, so we could come back in 2 weeks to the next work session and
That's what I'm
have the
hoping
discussion.
for.
That sounds like a reasonable expectation at this point,
Okay.
just from talking to this guy. That's reasonable.
Thanks for coming down, guys. We appreciate all the hard work up to this point. Man, you guys have been working hard. We're gonna keep it moving downhill. Number 5 is a resolution establishing new on-street parking time limits in the downtown area. Tisdale.
So this one we discussed at a previous work session, didn't have a full council there, and wanted to bring it back for action, whether moving to approve or not approve. This would essentially change the 4-hour parking in downtown. Map out here. shown here in the light blue, which is the currently 4-hour parking downtown, would change that to 3-hour if the resolution were approved. This did go to the parking committee just for review and comment. The committee did not feel strongly about making that change at this time, and there's a memo that we went through at the previous work session. Looking at trying to more aggressively market the parking, which hasn't been done to date. We do have created a brochure, this being the inside of the brochure, this being the outside, that could be marketed to downtown businesses and residents a little more thoroughly, get it in the hands of all the businesses downtown and residents, that they'd be able to see what are some options for parking, how to use the lots more appropriately. Looking at, I guess, some of the data, parking tickets hasn't changed substantially from when the change was made from 2 and 3 hour parking to 4-hour. Currently, about 48% of the spots in the parking lots are leased, so there is quite a bit of availability. Are looking to do a parking usage study in the downtown again to see how much of the on-street parking is actually used throughout the day and how much is available. Is this a real problem or perceived from that standpoint? And then also looking at the fine system, whether it's an increased or graduated fine system for repeat violators or first offense waiver for visitors of out of town to try and encourage more usage of the parking lots. And then some of the flooding has had an impact on parking. Some short-term issues that could be addressed, whether it's free parking in non-lease spaces during flood times. We are going to have the flood wall installed hopefully next year that will decrease some of those parking concerns during the times of flooding. Jefferson Street would remain 2-hour, so that would not change, would not be impacted with this. And then we do have the Tiger Grant and work on Washington as well in the next couple of years, as well as the Blau Building at 5th and Valley and the Tama Project at Jefferson and 3rd that are slated to occur here, in hopefully both starting this year, possibly, that could have a big impact as well. And the committee just felt making a change at this time was a little premature. Not that it shouldn't be made at some point, but maybe continue to evaluate with all those changes and see how things work out, and then maybe make a change later. But if a change is made, just to have the information, it's about 120 signs would need to be updated, most with just a sticker, and approximately 60 to 80 hours of staff time. So based on current workload, estimated potentially November for completion of the changeover from 4-hour to 3-hour.
I think I could get the Boy Scouts to change those stickers for us. Say 80 hours. 80 man-hours.
Well, here's where I'm at on it. I think we should still change it. Yes, there are some areas that the 4-hour parking seems to be working, but other areas where it's really tight and people could go a half a block and have leased space. My problem has been, we've been talking about this parking off and on for a year.
There you go.
And now we say parking has not been aggressively promoted to date, and that's not just us, that's the downtown. Well, when are we gonna aggressively promote it? First, we had to wait for signs, and now we still don't have a brochure, and in the meantime, we continue to talk about parking. The other thing is, we have only a 48% lease rate, and we're not marketing those spaces to businesses and employees downtown. When is that going to happen? And because my fear is if we do nothing and wait again, it's not going to be done, and we're gonna be right here talking about it a year from now. Not that that's gonna fix those two issues, but that's, to me, the biggest way to fix it right now. If we've all recognized this needs to be changed, how we market, how we educate people that it's there, and yet we still haven't done it. So that's on us, that's our bad. But I would agree with you, Mayor, I think we could get the Boy Scouts to line up and save us 60 to 80 hours of manpower changing stickers.
I say, God bless the parking commission. I trust their expertise, I value their expertise, and I think that we should stand behind what their recommendation is at this point. I have asked about everyone who's come in earshot with me what we should do with the parking, and the majority of people think it's premature to do anything right now. We've got the Tiger Grant coming in. Why should we waste unneeded dollars right now? Let's wait and see what Tiger does. That's gonna change the look and feel of our downtown. I feel like if we move those 4-hour slots to 3-hour, we are punishing some of the patrons that come downtown and leisurely want to shop, enjoy the art center, enjoy a show, go out to eat for lunch, go get a manicure, get a pedicure. And I have been at meetings downtown, and people are watching their watches, and then we actually set our clocks and rings, and everybody gets out of the meeting and runs and moves their cars. And I just don't think that makes our downtown look very friendly when we have to watch the clock all the time. So only 2 people that I polled are in favor of the change. So at this point in time, I have to be no.
I've got the opposite result, so we're talking to
We
different
talked to
people.
different people then, didn't we, John?
That's how it works, my friend.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about, I hate to wait about the Tiger grant, so we're gonna, 5 years from now, we're still gonna be dealing with the same issue.
I don't know, it's gonna be 5 years from now, John.
Say your project.
MPT, any comments?
I think that I stand by what I've said in the past about we have a commission, a group that gets together and, helps us with our decision-making with the parking. And I would like to think that I can trust their opinions and/or advice. So,
That's why we vote.
yep.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about the parking. I know it's not perfect, but I just keep thinking that we're gonna keep trying for perfect downtown. It's just never gonna happen. We're never gonna have a perfect parking system. Nobody has a perfect house. You move into a house and usually somebody's gotta do something to it, even paint a wall or something. So I just think maybe we need to temper our expectations just a little bit and know that there's gonna be some walking. You're downtown, you're outside. It's people do. You know what I'm saying? It's not the end of the world to do any walking. It's not gonna kill you. So, yeah, I'm there, but I hate this keep regurgitating itself. I just like to, at some point in time, we're gonna have to call it good enough. But, yeah, I'm with you guys on that. We're groovy,
Yes.
which brings us to number 6, resolution approving planning option agreement for the riverfront property at north of 200 North Front Street, Burlington Memorial Auditorium.
So,
James?
we had a request come in from a potential developer who happens to be here tonight to consider the idea of investigating the ability to use this space in a different way in the downtown area. For him to take a look at that, well, I can let him make his proposal, but it does make sense. He'd like to be able to know that if he's going to put some time and effort into it, that we're going to commit to giving him that time that he knows that he's got some exclusive rights to do that, so that if he does come up with something, he's not wasting his funds.
Sure.
So I guess with that in mind, Ryan, if you wanted to come forward and kind of introduce yourself and how it was that you ended up making some contact with Jesse and got you interested in our downtown area.
Sure. My name is Ryan Jensen. I'm a broker and real estate developer in Des Moines, Iowa. I have a good friend that lives here and is fairly involved in your community. His name is Jesse Caston. So I'm here fairly regularly, and I've always loved Burlington. I love river towns. And I've driven by this site dozens and dozens of times and look at it and think, man, that's a beautiful site. Why is nobody doing anything with this site? I'm just finishing developing a Fairfield Inn in downtown Des Moines, right across from Wells Fargo Arena, right on the river, right across from the skate park. That was it's a $12.5 million project that will wrap up. Hopefully, we're open in about 60 days or less. September 4th is really our target date, but I'm guessing it's going to be October. And so I am here today to propose, given having some exclusive rights to investigate developing this site, downtown Burlington. What I'd like to do is a hotel and then a rehab of the Memorial Auditorium. So experience in hotel development, not experienced in the auditorium rehab, but that's something that we can figure out. I've been doing this for quite a while. And so I can answer questions about the development agreement, or we've kind of have something put together, but I also can show you some stuff that I've done, or I've had an architect do some these are complete example renderings and elevations of what the site could look like. But again, to the, there's a parking ramp, amphitheater piece component with the auditorium, and then a hotel adjacent to the auditorium there. So that hotel could be faced multiple directions and could be a number of different flags, but there's an idea of what that site could look like. The parking ramp would probably be necessary to park the auditorium if we can do what needs to be done there. And then we're looking to incorporate some kind of splash pad or feature like that will be part of the Tiger Grant in addition with the project. So kind of a large project that would encompass a pretty big site downtown. So there's, again, this is an example. I came up with these and I think we got Jim sent me an email or asked me to come down just last Tuesday, so we threw this together pretty quick. This is a rough idea of what the footprint on the base floor and second floor, pretty generic, but a hotel lobby, a restaurant with a patio on the river, and then second floor hotel units. Ideally, I'd like to have some underground parking on this hotel or ground level. I don't want to say underground, but basically lift the hotel where the first floor of the hotel, the lobby is all river views, if you will, elevated above the water. And then we think we have one more elevation. Again, this is completely conceptual, infancy phase here, but give you an idea of what this might do to downtown. This is more focused on the hotel than it is the amphitheater. Just haven't had time to dig into what we can do there. But the idea would be my grand vision is opening up that whole side towards river, the existing auditorium, creating an indoor-outdoor type concert venue. Would probably require, I know there's a parquet floor in there, I've been through the building, that is one of only like 5 auditoriums in the country that have this particular floor. So I'd like to figure out how to reuse that. But we're hoping the Tiger Grant can help us really do something with this auditorium to make it a real event space. I'm not an event operator, don't intend to be an event operator, real estate developer, and so we look to work with the current operator that's there to have them, a local operator, still bring the venues and still run the facility. But really trying to make this a venue that could be used weekly, whether it be a farmer's market type thing or just outdoor concerts all summer, indoor concerts, flea markets, whatever events that you could kind of have at a facility like this. So again, basic infancy stage, but wanted to give you guys an idea of this is what we're looking at doing. It's a full encompassing project that would include parking, a rehab of the auditorium, and then a new hotel. I have some photos here. I don't know if you want to start with, maybe go to that Crocker fact sheet, that first one there, just kind of work your way down. 2 years ago, I bought this building from Mercy. They owned it. I'll give you an aerial here in a minute, but it was a 50,000 square foot building. You can see Wells Fargo Arena, the green space to the east there towards the river. That's where the new skate park is going, largest skate park in the country. But it's a 50,000 square foot office building that we rehabbed, basically gutted the existing structure, added on about 15,000 square feet to the second, third, and fourth floor. And it's a brand new Fairfield Inn with a bar that overlooks the river. Only Fairfield in the franchise that has a bar. And I want to give you some ideas of what the building looked like before. A few photographs there. You can kind of just breeze through those, Eric, if you want. There it is in demo phase. You can see the addition we're putting on there. And that was the building before. And that took, or I should say my 13-year-old daughter took these last week for me.
How old's your daughter?
13.
She's a pro.
Yeah, right? I have an 8-month-old, but she's not old enough to use a camera yet as well. So this is nearly finished. We hope to be open September 4th. I'm not the hotel operator. I'm the developer. Put the deal together, put the contractor in place, worked with the city to get a development agreement, some TIP funds and that kind of stuff to make this project work. It's 91 rooms, $12.5 million project, and again, kind of the same theme here, next to an event center, on the river, a trophy location in downtown Des Moines that's irreplaceable, and I kind of see the same things in this site in Burlington, and would like the opportunity to explore developing it.
I just ran by there last week.
Did
That
you?
was nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Thank
just
you.
ran along the river there, and that's
Yeah.
nice. I saw the construction going on.
Yep, we're almost done.
Ryan, you think 6 months is enough time?
So in the development agreement, what I've asked for in talking with Jim and Eric and other folks at the city is that 6 months is enough time. So we have in this agreement basically a 6-month initial phase. I understand that, you don't want to give me, 18 months, which is what I'm fully asking for, without producing some results in the first 6 months. So the first 6 months is just some initial test, figure out how the Tiger Grant works, figure out, I can probably start putting together some bids and start talking to the Marriott flags, whether it's a Courtyard or whether it's an AC or, whatever brand. I probably would like to stay within the Marriott flag system. It might be a boutique Marriott, depends on the size and scale. The occupancy in Burlington's not exactly great. I think the average occupancy is about 50%. So we need to create a venue here that has a really good restaurant component, probably adding the splash pad and amphitheater to really bring people downtown to actually come use kind of this little corridor here along the river. So I'm asking for 6 months to kind of do some initial due diligence. There are other developers, I'm not the only guy in town, that once they get wind of somebody want to do something here, probably going to come snatch it from me. And so I want 6 months to just start the initial test, figuring out, show you guys, hey, here's what we think we can do, give you some real ideas, and then another 12 months to finalize, land lease with the city, all the agreements with whether it's Tiger Grant or a development agreement or TIF, and then in that time also seal down a flag. When I secured the Marriott flag for the Fairfield, it's a $75,000 non-refundable check that you have to write, and that's not guaranteed you're going to get a flag. So there's some real costs, real expenses associated with exploring this. Even putting these drawings together, I got to pay my architect $200 an hour to do this basic stuff. So, and that's why I'm asking for the exclusive right to be able to work on this project.
I'm just, I can only speak for myself, but I'm excited to see it, and I do believe you're right. I believe you're gonna need those exclusive rights for those 6 months to prove something, because I do believe other people are gonna come. They know that
Yeah.
we've got that Tiger Grant, what it entails, so, but you came first, my friend.
I've been driving this site for many years, and every time I drive by it, I think, what in the hell, pardon my language, but why is nobody doing anything with this
Right
site?
on, right
It's
on.
just a great site. So, really excited to even have the opportunity to look at this.
I'm excited, Ryan, too. Did you give a number, approximate number on number of rooms?
I need to do a little more homework. I mean, there's a point in scale and construction where if I don't build 100 units, it's gonna be pretty tough to make it work. And then you look at occupancy. So there's gonna be a blend there, but I would say minimum 75 units, max probably 120, probably somewhere in that range is where we end up. A lot of that's gonna depend on the flag too. Marriott's pretty particular. I'd like to have one of their main flags, not a boutique, whether it's a Courtyard or an AC. A boutique brand would be cute and it'd be fun, but I don't know if I can get the right amenities in it to really draw the people to this location, to use the other amenities with the amphitheater and the splash pad and everything else, hopefully is incorporated with this. And so there's some balancing act there, and I got a little more homework to do on that. We've just kind of started exploring this.
And the parking garage, will that be just for the Marriott or your hotel customers, or that be open to anyone? And
That would
approximately
be-
how many
The
spots?
idea is, maybe that's part of the Tiger Grant. If I can do what I want with the auditorium, it's gonna hold more people. And if people are actually coming down here using this, you gotta be able to park it. If I have 2,000 people coming to a concert and they have nowhere to park, that's gonna be problem number one for getting people to actually come to these shows or whatever happens there. So I think it's something that's needed to feel
draw.
for the experience. Yeah, I mean, you have to have a place to park.
And then the downtown's the future, people are gonna own less cars, so we'll need less parking, everybody will take a Uber or a Lyft somewhere, so, yeah, the dynamic the next 10, 20 years is gonna change dramatically. But
It could,
we
yeah.
do need parking now, but maybe not 20 years from now, it won't be so important as it is now,
You might be right.
so.
So Ryan, if in that footprint, and I know it's real prelim, so 120 rooms, how many floors are you anticipating it being?
That's something we've looked at. So one of the reasons I laid this building out this way versus lengthwise on the river, 'cause that's what I'd really like to do, is I know that something that's important to the city is coming down the main streets, and, you know, look on Washington here, you wanna see the river. You don't wanna see a hotel blocking the river, right?
Right.
And so, one of the ideas with that layout is keeping that in mind. We can probably do a footprint that's a little bit different than that, along the river, close to the river, that still doesn't obstruct views. But probably, to answer your question, probably 3 stories.
Okay.
3 to 4. This only shows 2 stories on that little elevation model, but it depends on the footprint. We have a pretty tight area, so to minimize that obstruction, we're probably going vertical.
So, Eric, with our planning meetings that are tomorrow for Tiger Ground, what's this do to us?
That is exactly why we asked him to come
Okay.
now,
Yeah.
even though this is a little bit quicker than he's in a position to really be formulated on this.
Right.
But timing on it to have this part of the discussion that occurs this week is, I think, pretty important, because you look at that diagram that's up there, some of the things that are gonna be talked about will be, where is the splash pad supposed to be located? Some of the designs had it somewhat in this location that's shown on this image. Some of them had them immediately south of the port building. Some more, I think, even in the center of that lot. Well, as we have that discussion, where do you do it in a way that makes sense to allow some flexibility for something like this to be a part of the discussion moving forward? The splash pad itself is not a Tiger Grant piece, but it's a Great Places piece, and it needs to fit within the work that is the Tiger. So we need to be able to have this discussion. Now, as we talked about the Tiger Grant funds themselves, some of them do go towards parking. I don't think that we're in a position to, if we had we knew that you're moving forward now and we're gonna be building a parking ramp, I think that we could have a really good discussion about a portion of that funding going into the parking ramp itself because of the way it was written for doing parking improvements as part of it. I don't know that we're gonna be able to get that just based on the way the timing has to work for how we have to move forward with the use of the Tiger funds. But we do wanna make sure that whatever happens down here does it with this kind of thought process in mind for what might happen in the future. Part of what Ryan's bringing here is if you think through, go and look at what the agreement that you had with the city of Des Moines, it's all public record.
Yeah.
You had an overall package that you presented there for what kind of generic terms?
We had $1.4 million tip package, paid back over 8 years.
So if you think about that, that's the kind of thing that is probably to make a cash flow work, somewhere in that kind of perspective
Might be a
is
little more aggressive here. Occupancy is a little bit higher in Des Moines and with the
more
event
like
center.
60 or 70, 60%?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, and we did underwrite 65% occupancy for that, but something along those lines, right?
And you also have to think, we're talking about potentially a parking ramp here that may be part of what's being discussed. So it's a different type of package, but you gotta be thinking about numbers that are in that kind of framework of that. It's not something that he's gonna be doing this and coming back and not asking for something from the city as part of the whole overall package.
Right.
At the same time, if you do a parking ramp, that's not just for a hotel.
It actually, so this, to me, I look at this as kind of one whole project, but 2 projects in one. I mean, I think the auditorium rehab and kind of restructure of that with the amphitheater, along with the splash pad and the parking ramp are one project. The parking ramp's not gonna be needed for the hotel. That's really just to make sure that the auditorium is able to to function the way it needs to, get people in and out and holding those people there, let them park. And then the hotel is kind of a separate piece of this, but it's one thing. I think you can't really have one without the other, and make it work.
You guys feeling groovy? I'd like to see what you can do. And, yeah, I know you're gonna be asking for something.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make everybody happy, but again,
Yeah.
we gotta look at the overall, big picture, and I'm gonna see, I'm groovy with 6 months to see what you can do.
Yeah.
You already did Marriott, so let's see if you can do Mary High, right?
Yeah,
Here.
I love it.
Council?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you find feasible.
Yeah.
I
the
think
first step,
I think the rehab of the auditorium to, I guess, what is your idea of how you would rehab that? For what purpose?
So still an auditorium, for the main, I mean, you guys use it for a lot of different things now, but I see it more as a concert type venue. You know, indoor, outdoor. I mean, my grand vision, again, I don't know if this works, but I'm a big thinker, and if you don't, you know, if I think up here and I land here, it's probably still pretty good, right? But the grand vision would be to open up the river facing side, essentially move the second floor to the first floor to create more seating, going vertical, and you have a venue that is really a center stage on that wall, and you have an indoor, outdoor, one stage that kind of connects the two. So you could have people inside during a concert that's outside, and that stage is kind of right in the middle of that opening. If that makes any sense at all. There's some challenges with this though, and it's all about dollars. This is a historic building, so I could go and apply for historic tax credits. The problem with that is if I start opening walls up and doing that kind of thing, I mean, it's just not gonna work for that program. So the grand thing is to make this seat a lot more people and have a combination indoor, outdoor venue would be my grand scale idea.
Okay. Thank you.
There's a lot of discussion that needs to go on with this as this moves forward, and what's feasible from everyone's perspective.
And that may be a terrible idea, but that's why I work with the city and work with folks that maybe know what's better for the community than I do, someone from Des Moines, so.
I think 6 months is worth allowing you to work those bugs out and figure it out. James?
The Art Deco lovers will love you because they are just really attached to that building,
Yeah.
that auditorium. And I think, yay, it's exciting to see someone that sees a vision for that very valuable piece of real estate that's been sitting there.
Yeah.
So, yay. Applaud your efforts and your vision.
Peanut butter is spoken. John?
Yeah, I'm cool with it. My big concern would be, you know, we don't want to derail the Tiger Grant process
Right on.
overall, so, let's, you know, go after it and see what you can do,
Okay.
in my
James, anything
opinion.
else?
I guess a couple other things. Council might I would encourage you to go take a look at what Mason City has had to do to try to put in some event centers in their downtown area. They're a very comparable sized community, trying to make things happen. Just to give you a perspective that this is the kind of package that you see if you're gonna have something develop. I think this is a great thing to at least take a look at. It would be neat to be able to see. I have no idea whether this all
Yeah,
works out or not. I just want to make sure that we at least are getting the thoughts communicated and work through some potential what-ifs.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. We'll definitely take a look at it, and we'll have to see how the numbers
In
go.
the first 6 months, I mean, we can figure out whether the project financially works or not.
Okay.
Based on initial conversations without, I mean, I've done this for quite a while and understand, you know, how the cities work, and you only have so many resources, and it costs so much to build the hotel. Those things are pretty easy to kind of figure out and dwindle down to what's reality. And I can do that in 6 months and see if there's a feasible project here. And then in that, I think we'll start to come up with some design elements that fall into that feasibility. And maybe it's not as grand as I'd like it to be. Maybe it's grander, who knows? But in 6 months, we can do that.
Oh, the other part I did want to remind you of, this is land that we have to maintain ownership on. So if there is something that moves forward in the future, and we've kind of talked through, it would require us to, we're allowed to turn over the use of that land. Would be similar to what happened with Big Muddy's. That was on a long-term lease for the facility. We own the land, but the underlying land, but the building is owned by the outside developer. I don't know what the term of that is.
It's just
You
a
want to do
land-
like you want to do
it's
like
a
a
land lease.
five-year lease on the land, right? To
No,
cover your
no,
investment.
More like 100 years.
Yeah.
It'd be like anything in New York, right? I mean, you big cities, I mean, you guys can't sell this because it was gifted to you by the federal government, and that's okay. We just need a long-term land lease. If we're gonna put, this is probably, I mean, the hotel is somewhere between $10 and $16 million. And then I haven't really put any numbers on the auditorium yet. We'll start working on that during this first 6 months. But it's a pretty substantial project. And so we would need a long-term land lease with the city.
It's understandable.
Are we groovy?
Yeah.
Thank you for
All
thinking
right,
of it.
thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Very exciting.
All right. The next exciting thing on the agenda tonight is the resolution. A resolution approving the final plat of Gerst subdivision. Mr. Tisdale.
This is a one-lot subdivision located in 2-mile growth area of the county. Show this up on the overhead here. It's something we've seen a little bit of lately, just splitting off some land from an existing farm to be able to build a second property there. So the larger red area is in the current lot, and they're looking to split off this smaller section into one lot, separate from the existing building there. But this is on 125th Avenue, just off Highway 99, north of Y Camp Road, so in the 2-mile area that we have review on.
Okay.
It's the final. We good?
We're good.
All right. Number 8 is resolution of providing for a salary adjustment for the city manager. Next week, we'll meet at 5, for a meeting to deal with that. And everybody has a copy in front of them. We're gonna simplify this just to make this a little bit easier for all of us. And we shouldn't have to spend a week to go over it just to figure out if we can get this man a raise or not. So hopefully this will work out a lot better for everybody else. Be prepared come Monday, 5 o'clock, we'll take care of Jimmy, and then we'll go into our regular meeting at 5:30. So if anybody's got any questions on that, on the
Form.
Form,
what's the word I'm looking for?
evaluation.
Protocol.
Evaluation.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Please feel free to call me, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Any questions on that?
No.
We're running a little bit behind, but we'll do it the same way as we did it last time. We'll just prorate it, so you'll be okay. You'll get your money right on it. Okay. Next is, now we come to the proposed consent agenda. Number 1 is resolution approving purchase of a Case 621G wheel loader for Public Works, Street, and Sewer Division. Mr. McGregor.
Good evening. The next 3 resolutions are kind of all grouped together. We are going to try and purchase the 2020 Case front-end loader. I call it payloader. That's much debate about what we actually call these things. The budget that we have in the budget book for fiscal year 20 is $170,000 after trade-in with our current loader. It's $146,527. We sourced this and the next 2 pieces of equipment through Sourcewell. They are a public competitive bidding organization that we're a part of. So similar to the way that the state of Iowa does procurement, we use their procurement to simplify the process. And the funds for this are split 50-50 between road use tax and sewer funds.
We good?
Good.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Number 2, stay right there, my friend. Is a resolution approving purchase of a Case SR 270 skid steer loader for Public Works, Street, and Sewer Division.
Again, this is another piece of equipment that is in the budget for 2020. After trade-in, we had a budget of $40,000. This one comes in at $40,720. I'll talk about it at the end for the next one.
We good?
Good.
All right. The next one is a resolution approving purchase of a Case 590 backhoe tractor loader for Public Works Street and Sewer Division.
This is the purchase of the 2020 backhoe. It's in the budget for $95,000 budget. After trade-in, it comes at $98,100. Sourced through the same method, split the same way with road use tax and sewers. Between the three, the budget is $305,000. The three combined is $285,000. So while two of them are over budget, one is fairly under budget. So still within the budget of the three pieces of equipment.
Okay, good job.
You guys groovy?
Groovy.
Thank you, sir. Number 4 is a resolution approving the engineering services agreement with Impact 7G for work with Cascade Bridge.
Upon the conversation about demolishing the bridge, there's certain historical guidelines that we have to follow because it's a National Historic Place. So we staff went and talked to a couple of consulting firms to help us meander this process that could take anywhere from 2 to 3 years. We discussed it with Impact 7G, have a proposal from them in the amount of $47,750 that would be paid for out of road use tax. We recommend them. I think with the engagement that we'll have to do with citizens, and then their historic knowledge, I think that we're best to go off with them. So,
John?
Well, this is the same group that did the brownfield assessment, right?
correct.
Which I was, to be blunt, underwhelmed by what they came up with. I am concerned about, if you go through some of the costs that they laid out in the contract, it's $750 to send a brief and formal memo is what they have on there. And I realize that's not exact cost, but when you go through here and look at it, I really am worried that we're gonna end up spending 50 grand for not a lot. Just, to be told we either can or can't take it down. The goal would be if we tear it down, are we still eligible for other funding? I know we're tough on staff, but for 50 grand and given the results we had on the brownfield, I'm nervous about it.
I understand the concern. I think that this process of getting it, we'd have to have it declassified is what we would have to, is not something that any of us staff have any ability to do. Without talking about the numbers from other firms that I have, this is well under that amount.
About 25%.
And I'm not the right person to speak about what the brownfields results were.
Our biggest concern was finding a firm that has the ability to go through the SHPO and work through that process in a way that is acceptable to them. I mean, and that, to the long and short of it, is how do we make sure that we can successfully do that piece? And they do have a very good track record of going to SHPO and working through and making sure that they're addressing their concerns. They're not the only firm that can do it. We have another firm that we had that has good experience going through the same process, but the cost is more than 3 times what you see here. Of course, they might have had a little bit more that was delineated within their scope that they're covering with that same piece, but
Correct.
but it's still significantly more than what this one is. And I think that what we are hiring is specifically around making sure that we go through a formal evaluation that meets the standards that they are going to require of us and has established relationships with them to where when they are working with SHPO, that SHPO trusts what they're telling them. And that's hard for me to put a dollar figure on, or
I got you. I'm just voicing what my concern is.
And I appreciate your voicing that concern. That is a lot of money when you look at it for paperwork, but I don't know what all they're doing to make that paperwork. I appreciate you guys making it clear. Are you guys satisfied with that? Do you want to look at the other company that's 3 times more, or just check in?
Are we good?
Yes.
Good.
All right. We don't like it, but we're moving forward, my friend. Thanks for finding the cheaper one. Number 5 is a resolution approving the contract with SEIRPC in association with the Tiger Grant. Nick?
So with the Tiger Grant comes a lot of strings that you need to report on. We sought out Southeast Iowa Regional Planning to assist with that. This reporting will go on for, I think 2028 was the last date that was in that spreadsheet. On completion, which is the closeout of 2025 in the Tiger Grant Agreement, we have benchmarking and performance measures to do for the next 3 years. The $51,300 contract from Regional Planning is spread out throughout those years. And so the account number that you see there is through engineering and professional services. So we need this assistance. It's a paper pushing, reporting process that you have to do with the federal government, so.
I'm good with that. Council?
Yep.
Number 6 is resolution, peanut butter, you good?
Oh, yes.
Number 6 is resolution approving federal aid agreement with the Iowa Department of Transportation in association with the Tiger Grant. Nick?
This agreement came as a kind of we need this sort of agreement. The Iowa DOT believes that we need this agreement to be able to get reimbursed for these funds. So this agreement is between the Iowa DOT and the city of Burlington to request our reimbursement for funds. So I don't know why the Tiger Grant didn't cover this, but anyway, this is why we need that.
Okay.
You guys good?
Yep.
Number 7 is a resolution approving boiler for Memorial Auditorium.
I do not currently have these numbers. They will be due Wednesday. But the first kind of bid that we know is above the amount that we have the authority to approve. So that's why we have it on the agenda. We'll have the numbers for you in the packet.
You have an
next
estimate on
Monday.
it?
Yeah, that's what I was.
It'll be between 75 and 100,000.
Hey, man,
With the
you know-
punches, Brett.
Get left hook
Yeah.
sometimes.
So, and that, again, where that one fits, that's within the building itself. That'll be part of our
Insurance.
Partial insurance. and
So we have a $50,000 deductible. We know we're on the hook for 50,000. We just want to make sure that we do the pieces within here to the best of our ability. And out of that 50,000, it'll be submitted then on to FEMA for partial reimbursement.
So in this case, get the good one.
Number 8 is the resolution. Are we good?
I'm good.
MPT?
Good.
Number 8 is resolution approving interlocal agreement between the city of Burlington and Des Moines County for the 2019 Bernie Justice Assistant Grant, JAG Program Award.
Good evening.
CDK.
Last year I was up here and we did it for the fiscal year 2018 burn JAG grant. And this year they've offered, as you see here, $23,676 that we can use between us and the Sheriff's Department, which is listed in that agreement as a disparate agency. I've talked to the Sheriff's Department and we're looking at getting some covert pole camera systems for surveillance, basically intelligence gathering and investigations into crime that happens throughout the city and basically throughout the county. There'll be 4 of those systems available. So if we're using 3, the Sheriff's Department can use 1 or when they're available. They're a temporary mounting system on those, so they're easily deployed and moved throughout the city or throughout the county. The agreement will go in front of the Board of Supervisors the day after next week's council meeting, so I'll meet with them to get their signature on that also, that interlocal agreement.
Everybody's good?
Any questions?
I'm good.
One will
CDK.
not be by your house, Mayor.
What's that?
One of these will not be by your house.
The
I
other-
appreciate that.
The other 3 will.
You're out of order tonight, Jim. Silencio. All right. Number 9 is a resolution approving an agreement between the city of Burlington, Iowa and Alliant Energy Incorporated for all-night lighting services in the Arborview Estate subdivision. Nick?
This resolution would approve 4 lights at a new subdivision off Sunnyside. It's not so new. It's been there for a while, so this would involve 4 new lights at $7. They want the LED colonial, which I've I guess I've objected in the past. I've informed them that I wouldn't recommend any more than what is currently going to be installed with this. Alliant has some better bulbs that will help kind of spread the light. So the cost of this is going to be incurred by the developer and the owner, the homeowners association and the developer, and then we would pay for the ongoing cost of the lights. So I would recommend approval of that.
You guys satisfied?
It was $725
Per light.
Per.
So just as long as we have it documented, we didn't recommend the style of light, so when they come back,
Yeah, I have plenty of emails that communicate.
good, hang on to that.
All right, we've got a set date, public hearing set date for September 3rd for consideration of an application for multifamily rental unit production, new construction program, round 6 for the Tama Building site from the Iowa Economic Development Authority Community Development Block Grant Program. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a good time, guys. Brings us to our discussion items tonight. Number 1 is creative placemaking. Tammy McCoy, woman of distinction.
I'm here, we're with Creative Placemaking. I think a few of you have heard of it, some of you who have not. Eric, did you get my email with the description of what creative placemaking is?
I did not.
Oh, I sent it Friday. It's okay if you didn't.
Didn't they have a creative placemaking at the Capitol presentation?
I brought in
I remember that.
Zach Mannheimer out of Des Moines for the creative placemaking a year ago in May. And he came and spoke to a few people. And the idea is to create amenities out of buildings that are not being used right now, and to create interest in our community through creative process of bringing things here that would also attract other people. And the reason I'm coming to council today for this is because we are wanting to use the creative placemaking process to help Burlington with the blighted buildings and a few things. And we will be asking Zach Mannheimer through the McClure Engineering and Creative Placemaking, to apply for a grant. And the grant would be about $80,000, but we have to match it with another $20,000. And that grant would provide a business plan. They would also find funding for us, and they would also help find developers that would be interested.
How much is your match?
20, an 80-20. We already have a $5,000 guarantee commitment from the Great River Health Systems. And so that leaves us with 15. I'm wanting the city to be the applicant for this. So when they ask for the grant, the city would be the applicant. I'm hoping that the city can contribute $10,000, and then we would just have another $5,000 that we would have to come up with.
Sorry, I always do that on
I
Mondays. James, go ahead. What were you going to say?
This was a request that you almost were making for 20,000 this last
Yes.
March,
Yes.
or after we just approved the budget. And I don't know, I might have discouraged the timing on that and encouraged waiting a year. It's not part of our budget, but this is something that you're looking at for that would require a next fiscal year.
Correct. Yeah, we wouldn't be
Contribution
applying
from
for
us.
this grant until probably, I'm thinking early spring. So that's why I'm asking for this now, so it can be in the budget for next year.
So if this is something the council wanted to move forward and participate in, the $10,000 would likely be a hotel motel ask or local option sales tax. Those are typically the two types of funding sources that we use for this, that we'd be trying to work into next year. There's I don't know if it would require us to move anything from what we currently have for next year. Within the hotel motel, I think our revenue is a little higher than what we had budgeted, to the tune to where the 10,000 is something that I think that we can accommodate without crimping any of the projects we already have within our 5-year CIP. That's one of the differences between that and the pool at 150,000. That I can't make without having a significant impact on that.
Well, and this is going to affect a whole lot more people. And I'm not taking anything away from the pool. I don't want to compare the things as far as this goes, but I also know who's going to be one of the drivers, and I know you're going to work hard. You know, I know what you do, and you bust hump for the city. So, you know, I know that it would be a good investment, and you're not going to waste that. So, yeah, I've got no issue with it.
Do you have a building in mind? I think taking a blighted building out of.
We
blight
have
is the
several
thing.
that we want to talk about, but once we do this, then we would have a committee of people deciding which ones we want to focus on first. And then we would get a business plan for those, and then we would get the help with finding investors and finding financing for it. I also do have an unofficial, and I want to state unofficial, commitment from another entity that would want to help contribute significantly to this project.
Cool.
So, but I can't say who it is until it becomes official, so.
And I know it was a while since I've been at that building. They've done this in Des Moines and larger market areas, correct?
Yes, correct.
And young people say it's a huge draw. It's one of the reasons why they are drawn to these communities, because they have these sites. Can you elaborate a little bit more, because refresh my memory?
Yeah, it can be just reuse of a blighted building, and it could be anything from housing, it can be to I'm losing the words for it, but the maker spaces, I guess is what it's called, a maker space. It could be a place where the hospital's interested in helping, and they gave us this $5,000 toward this grant, because it could also be temporary housing for maybe physicians that are just here for a small period of time. It could be for residents that are coming through. We could even think about it as a place for artists to come through and maybe contribute to the betterment of our city or the beautification of our city for free housing for a short period of time. So there's a lot of different things. There's also some coding labs that you could do with the kids, and so the sky's the limit. It's just a matter of what we want to do, and we would have their assistance on helping us figure out those different plans.
Because I think the ones in Des Moines do everything from poetry to little eteries to storytelling. I mean, there's no end to what you can do with this
Absolutely.
space.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Overseas?
So this is, if you want to see, that's kind of an overview of what creative placemaking is and what they would do, so. And their services, so.
Yeah, I really feel like the curmudgeon of the group. I'm showing my age tonight. I am. I'm all for it. My biggest concern would be that it's a for-profit venture, so we're not 3 years from now trying to find out funding to keep whatever we had going. And that's if I remember right, that's what these were. These were about a business model
Right.
that they would bring in and make that work. And if that's the case, then I'm all right with using the hotel motel for it,
Okay.
or even economic development, to be honest with you, for that. So.
You good?
Yeah. I'm good.
Well, if it means anything to make you feel any better, I received an email from this lady. She said it was important that she speaks to me because she wants to get my perspective on what it's like to be the mayor of Urbandale. So,
Okay.
She must not have seen Fireball Run.
Thank you.
you dirty rat, man. Woman of distinction, thank you for coming down. We certainly appreciate you. Our next.
So
Should've
that's,
ruined it,
that's
man.
not one that I don't think that really needs an action item
Okay.
outside of knowing because where you'd have an action item is the approval of the
Approval.
CIP.
Yeah.
But that's something that if you want us to be moving forward with that as trying to figure out how we coordinate that within our CIP, we can be doing that. And I've kind of gotten the impression that's what you want.
Yep, I'm on board.
Please.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot to ask you, how are we coming on the sidewalk crosswalk paintings?
This is a Nick discussion.
This is a Nick discussion.
I'll be the bearer of bad news. Federal Highway was in town and they saw the crosswalks and that is not ADA compliant.
You gotta be kidding me. The
It's a
paint?
visual
Distraction.
City of Des Moines does it with thermoplastic and they're in trouble as well, so I don't,
Okay.
we were told to, we were told to actually clean it off, but I just told her to not do it It's my mistake. It was nowhere in any guidelines that I saw, but when you have $17 million tied up with Federal Highway, I don't want to
Yeah,
upset them.
Right,
So
right on.
Wow.
all right.
that's my fault.
Sorry.
Well, it's not really anybody's fault, but
Yeah,
no doubt. You know, we'll enjoy it while
Definitely
we can.
not looking to place blame, I was just
I thought it was an
asking.
awesome idea, though.
Yeah.
I thought it was really, really cool. Are we good?
Good.
Yeah.
Number 2 is bike pedestrian plan, SEIRPC.
This one I'll take. Could we switch to the projector, Stephanie? Realized I sent them an email for the work session, but said the 19th.
Do you want to wait until they're available?
Yeah, but I just want to highlight, the main goal of them coming is looking to update our bike and pedestrian plan. They'll have more details on it. That was one of the goals of the planning commission that came through the city council as well. They have funds available where there's no cost to the city to update the bike and pedestrian plan. We've met a lot of the goals in it already. But looking to have a public input meeting on Tuesday, August 27th at the library, room B, from 5:30 to 6:30. So we want to get that word out there now, but then have them give more details at a future meeting.
Hopefully on the 26th.
Yeah, yep. So maybe they could come or just speak at the end of the council meeting next week. But want as many people as available to come to that meeting to give their input on bike and pedestrian plan. This is for the greater Burlington area, so this is Burlington, West Burlington, and Boyne County as well. So our current plan is on our website at burlingtoniowa.org. I encourage people to go there and see what is included in that. That's kind of a model, but we want to update that and include future goals for the region of what trails could be.
And Bike
You know
Burlington
it.
knows about this meeting?
Yeah, they've been trying to reach out. I'll make sure
Okay.
there as well. But yeah, we want as many interested parties and those interested in bike and pedestrian planning to attend the meeting.
Okay,
Are we satisfied?
satisfied.
All right. Number 3, welcome.
You guys got the giggles.
Oh, no.
I feel like I'm in a Carol Burnett show.
Sorry.
Hello, Chelsea LaRue, Executive Director, Greater Burlington Convention and Visitors Bureau. And I did provide you guys a memo in your packet. Are you all right, Shane?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
But thank you for asking, Ms. Chills.
Unfortunately, in the midst of the flooding, Bonnie Baldwin, the owner of the Iowa store, did pass away. She's been a longtime neighbor of us at the Welcome Center and a wonderful lady. And with our agreement to operate a State of Iowa Welcome Center, it's always been an option for us to have a gift shop. But since Bonnie always had her store right next door to us, it was unnecessary for us to execute that option that the state issued us. But now that Bonnie has passed away and the store is no longer there, we would like to propose the Welcome Center kind of expanding into the Iowa store space and adding retail and gift shop merchandise to the brochure Welcome Center floor. And we would like to just add this on to the current contract or agreement that we already have with operating the Welcome Center out of the Port Building. Our vision would be to move our Welcome Center manager's office to the Iowa store space and convert our current office into storage for the retail merchandise so it could be locked up.
You know, I sure wish we could put a little plaque thing or something in there and you know, in memory of Bonnie. She just, you know, really was her baby and
It was.
I just, you know, I don't want to completely remove her memory if there was some way we could honor her, but yeah, I think it makes sense, personally.
So Bonnie was paying rent, albeit it was pretty low. So this would be with the Chambers deal, we would forego the rent. Is that what you're asking?
That's my current proposal, yes.
Okay, all right.
Well, our intention isn't to make money.
Sure.
You know, we still want to, first goal is to operate a welcome center.
Okay.
If we do make a little bit of money, the intention would be able to increase our hours. So additional staff costs there to just cover the increased hours.
Yeah, the only reason I brought it up is someone will ask.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
okay, thanks.
I think it's a good idea. We need to sell
When-
more Snake Alley memorabilia stuff.
But just to confirm though, I know that she paid a percentage of what she made and it was
Was it-
never added up to about,
Was
to
it
very much.
7% of gross sales? I think it is something
It's-
like that.
yeah.
The gross sales there were 70-some thousand a year.
There wasn't much to sniff at, so Yeah, even with just walking away, nobody can really say, well, we're leaving that money on the table. There's really not much meat on that bone, so just to clarify that.
What we can, if you're willing to accept what they're asking or requesting, we have I think a 3-year agreement. So we'd have to, I'm not sure if we do or not. I can't remember how
Yeah,
that
it's
works.
a 3-year agreement, and I think it's through the end of 2020.
So
I
we
don't
might
remember.
just bring a resolution approving an amendment to the existing agreement, and then it would.
Change it at the end.
And then amend to
Include
incorporate
it
the
in the next
language
one.
in the next one.
Then modifications are gonna be at your expense, any modifications that might need to be done.
Yeah, but I don't know, anticipate any remodeling
Yeah.
down there. We're just, flooding cleanup efforts right now is just what
Okay.
we're waiting on.
All right, I'm good.
Hey, Chelsea, we appreciate you, kid. We satisfied?
I'm satisfied.
Thanks, Chelsea. Okay, it brings us to number 4, renewal of American Water Resources Agreement. James?
So we are coming to the end of our second 5-year arrangement with American Water Resources. It's actually, the original contract was a 5-year with 2 optional 5-year extensions. We do have one extension that is left on that original contract. It is an automatic renewal unless we provide notice, 90-day notice of our desire not to have the contract renew under the existing terms. We receive 10% of the net proceeds, so as they collect revenues off of it, the expenditures for claims are taken out. Net of that amount, the claims from the original revenues, we get 10%. It amounts to
12 to 15 grand.
yeah, 14,000 in that neighborhood on an annual basis for us. We don't look at this as a huge money raiser. I don't think it was ever designed to be that for the city. It's, when this was originally done, I think there was a desire to come up with a way to provide folks a way to cover a huge expense, depending on what the bill was. And it's on the sewer side, I think it's Don's fault, that some of those claims can be in the neighborhood of, if it's under the street, it could be, some of them were $9,000 expenditures to replace a sewer line. I can't remember the cap that's on this plan, but this was put in place to try to address those high costs of sewer and water line replacements. They have, I think I had in there, they've processed in the neighborhood of 60 to 70 claims a year. They're not all that size, or a lot of them are much smaller claims. We do get a couple of complaints in a given year of them not covering a claim. The majority of those, if I call and follow up on, are eventually covered. Some of them aren't. They have exclusions that are written in that are fairly specific, and they're right to not cover based off of what's written in their contract. We do get a lot of complaints here when mailings go out. People call in and confused about the way those mailings go out. It's the nature of how our contract is written, and if we're gonna have service with them, it's what's gonna happen. And so it's really up to you as a group, what's the relative weight of those pros and cons. I think it was right about 15% of our residents are receive service through American Water Resources in one form or another. Some of them are choosing water, some sewer protection, some in-home plumbing, some level of combination between the different plans.
I want to get mine out right off the bat. I don't like the way the mailings come out.
Me neither.
A lot of people, they feel like they have to because of the cities on there. And I would like to think, and I do, I'd like to think that they've been a blessing to people that have used that, but people shouldn't feel like they have to. And I seen the mailing come out, and if you're really not hip to things, it can almost make you think that, wait a minute, maybe the city's sending this out and I actually have to do this. And for that reason, I'm out. I'm out.
I would echo your thoughts. I would be all in favor of continuing agreement with them, but it's gonna have to be modified or amended on the mailings, because, I like to think I'm pretty well plugged in on, and have been for the last several years. When I've got that, the first thing I was doing is pick up the phone, I thought, what's this? And I've had several senior citizens, I've had businesses, or not businesses, homeowners come to me and say, what is this, when they get the mailing? And I am totally uncomfortable with that mailing. I think it's not on our part, but I think the way it's structured is somewhat deceptive. And I'm not interested in continuing in as long as we're sending those mailings out looking like they came out from the city of Burlington.
I've got a sweetheart of a lady. God bless her. She's probably watching tonight, but she's living in a new home, new development, and she didn't need that insurance. She didn't need the insurance. So again, I think it's a judgment call. You saw the information. 70 people approximately a year using it. The kickback we're getting is about 14 grand. So and that does help, but I don't like it. They're not going to change up how they do it. They're still going to put the city's emblem on there, and for that reason, I'm not going to have to live with it or eat it.
Shane, do we have any grounds that if we decide to renew our contractual agreement with them, that we can change the verbiage on that? Or does it have to continue to be the same? I mean, I don't want to alienate and irritate people and give them heartburn. I mean, that's not the idea. We want to give them coverage. But if those flyers continue to go out, is there a way that we can have a focus group or we can have a say on what's on them? I don't know.
That'd be a Jim question.
I don't
Is that a
think
Jim
much.
question?
I think they pretty much got a template on how they.
I mean, if it's not working, it obviously needs to
They
be
have a
tweaked
template
and
of how they
fixed.
want it to go out, and they have the way it's written right now, they have the right, as long as they're not, I mean,
I'm not saying they're doing anything
there are
illegal.
certainly, I understand criticisms of it. To me, it reminds me of a Publishers Clearinghouse.
Oh, no.
The mailings that come with
That
that.
bad, huh?
Well,
you have
I mean, that's a,
But it is kind of.
I'm not a big fan of what the mailings look like, but they have the right within the way that it's written. They're not doing anything that is truly deceptive, but it does play on
People's nerves, yeah.
on things.
Well,
So
so if that
Assistant
is,
City Manager.
so let me finish real quick. So if that is the case, I guess my vote would be that we move to terminate the contract and then talk to them about doing it a different way. Sorry.
The only thing that I would have to add is in my previous town, we had a different company for the same type of insurance, and we had a renewal process similar to this, and we fought the same fight. I mean, they actually used our city logo on that.
So do
They're
these
using,
guys.
they're using our city logo too.
So that's how they try and get in, is to try and make you think that they're the city. So I don't know that they would. We kept it because we had enough insured on ours, but they would not change their methodology.
No.
But
If we were to drop this coverage for people, is there something else they could pick up? I don't want to leave
So
anybody hanging in
they're
the
not the
wind.
only provider. Does HomeServe provide coverage in town now? I think they have a few people, there are a few residents who have them as a provider. American Water Resources, I don't think would leave the community. They would still, I mean, they have 1,200, I think was the number.
I think
of
what they do is they bump
accounts.
up
They
the
would
rates,
continue
essentially.
those. What they would lose is our mailing list to be able to keep that updated and send on for new customers.
Well, I think the mailers could be restructured, even if they retain their logo, they could be restructured where it's a little more clear. I'm uncomfortable with it. I've had enough people say to me, what is that deal? Why do we as a city allow it to go out that way? So whether it's this company or another company, I'm not comfortable with the way the mailers go out. I just don't like it, so I'm gonna say move to let them know we're gonna terminate the contract. They could still get that insurance elsewhere.
Or through them even.
Or
through them.
through other sources. I don't like the way the mailer goes out. I think with our senior citizens, it's really tough. I don't like it, period.
I think your homeowner's insurance actually has a rider on it too.
Some of them do.
But I just wanted to comment
But we
that
have
I
to
had
give them a
experienced-
90-day notice is what you're saying.
Yes,
Jim.
and so
if we're
what
gonna
I
do
would,
that-
have as an action item come back to one of the next couple of agendas, to,
Where are we at? I'm all the way out.
I'm out without a contract modification on the marketing.
I'm feeling more negative things about it than positive. I'm feeling like it alienates people in the community.
Here's the thing, again, just because we're pulling out of the contract, doesn't mean that people are gonna lose their service, those that decide that they want it.
They still have it.
But, telling you, I know a lot of people that have it, and they're upset that they do, because they didn't need it, and they really did.
Oh, okay.
They thought that it was the city, and the way they read it, they thought that they had to do that. And to me, no way,
You
no
got
way.
it. You got it.
Yeah,
MPT?
often I get that letter and I don't open it yet and I'm just like, what do we want? What do we want from me? So I can understand where the panic and concern and confusion comes from. I guess my only concern would be what, if any, consequences or reactions we would have from not renewing the contract or, giving the 90-day notice besides the dollar amount that we would miss out on. Is there any other?
the city doesn't really lose out on anything,
Right.
but you just have something that's not there on an ongoing basis for citizens. I assume that American Water Resources will continue to provide service. As long as they maintain enough folks who are taking advantage of it to make it.
It's not like, it's not like they have their
Beneficial
own
for 'em.
company that's doing the repair work. They hire that out. So, I mean, where are we at, guys? There's four of us here. Are we walking away from this?
Well, yeah,
I'm hearing,
the way it stands right now.
I'm hearing it sounds like it causes more confusion and disruption.
Let's walk away, Renee. Let's walk away. Hey, okay, this brings us, did you like that? No, all right, maybe not. I'm showing my age. Number 5, we have appointments. Are we satisfied on appointments? Anybody have any issues there?
No issues.
Mr. Tislin, anything in
Oh,
closing?
the only thing I would ask about the appointment, so we're still balanced. I'm gonna ask that question every time, so we don't get caught. That would be, we're still gender balanced on that, with that appointment the way it is.
I assume they usually don't put them on there unless
Okay.
they've gone through the
All right.
60, 90-day
I just wanna make sure.
waiting period.
Okay. Peanut butter? What do you got for us on the
Free
way out?
swim today, or I can't even talk. Free swim Thursday. There we go.
Yes.
Dankworth Pool. So check it out. It's the final one. So Farmers Market
Is this Thursday
Thursday.
the final, this is the last one?
Yeah, yeah. So summer's coming to an end. So if you want to get wet and wild, there you go. Okay.
Council talk Wednesday.
I want some of that action.
Who's
I
doing
know you
it?
guys are just fighting over each other to get some of that action. Who wants some?
I could do that, I suppose, Wednesday?
I possibly could. What time?
Huh?
9.
We're gonna do the chicks on Wednesday?
Well,
Girl power, all right.
that would be good for me, cause I'm gonna be doing the Tiger Grand Street Block meetings, so.
Okay, it'll be girl power on
You're in.
Wednesday. I know you guys will
Anything
represent us well.
Well, finally sounds smart.
A peanut butter, that's right, that's right. Anytime I'm out there, we always do.
Oh, please.
Peanut butter, is that all you got?
Yeah.
Okay. Councilman, Mr. Billups.
No, all I have is council talk. You already asked me.
Okay, MPT?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, yes, you are. James?
Eric, would you like to review what we're doing this week with
Yeah,
meetings?
and could you switch the computer here? So we have our consultants in town for the Tiger Grant, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday, August 13th at 6 PM here in City Hall Council Chambers will be the public input meeting. That's scheduled from 6 to 7:30. We encourage anyone interested to know, I guess, the process, what's going on, or give their input on the
What day is that again?
tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Here at council chambers, to give their input on the planned improvements to the riverfront, Main Street or Jefferson Street. Please plan to attend. Our consultants will be on hand to lead that. kind of going over timing and then what some concepts could be. Wednesday, we have public input meetings throughout the day from 10 till 5 for different sections of Jefferson Street and Main Street. Those are streetscape meetings. We did put out flyers to all the businesses on Jefferson and Main, letting them know of the timing. The intention is to have discussion on those blocks during those times as shown on the screen, 10 to 10:45 for the 2 to 300 block, 11 to 11:45 for the 6 to 700 block, and so on. But if you're not able to attend a meeting in your block or have interest or input, whether you're a business owner, resident, or otherwise, try and make it to one of those meetings to give your input. Again, the focus is the businesses in those blocks, but they'll take input as well. But again, the primary public input is tomorrow at 6 p.m. here at City Council, and then we do have some steering committee meetings and then some other focused meetings with individual businesses throughout the week. But these are really the public input opportunities for individuals that want to give their input on the streetscape design of Jefferson and Main and some of the riverfront stuff.
Okay. I just want to, you're looking at the table. Do we got an Assistant City Manager? You got anything in closing? CDK? We're good back there? Ryan? Okay, we're good. All right, look, then I'll close with, we had the end of the block party was last week. It was phenomenal. It was a good time. They gave away bikes. They gave away backpacks. I want to thank the Elks Club for coming down, Tommy Walls and the gang. They showed up with backpacks, and they loaded all the kids down, and they had extra ones too. So if you are a kid out there and you don't have a backpack, if you're a kid out there and you don't have a backpack and you're ready to go to school, you call down to City Hall. You call Kathleen Salisbury. You tell her that you don't have a backpack. I'll personally bring you a backpack with pencils and stuff. I'm not kidding. I'll do that, and I've got some extra backpacks that I already do, me and my church. So just want to thank the Elks Club for that. It was phenomenal. The kids had a great time. I want to thank the fire department for sending the truck out and the boys. They came, and the fire department, they flexed their muscles for a while, and they sprayed us down. They really didn't spray anybody down, but they did flex, and they were there for the kids and stuff like that. It was a great time. I'm not sure how many kids got on the truck, but just to have them there is always good. Also want to thank Victor, who is in charge of this, and he's the main driver behind it. All I did was just kind of help out and bring food and stuff. But Victor Moore, I just want to give a shout out to you and thank you for caring about your community and everybody else that did help. I don't know who your names are, but the Lord knows who you are and appreciate your help. We definitely, I know the kids really enjoyed it. So want to give a shout out for that and thank you. I meant to wear my block party T-shirt tonight, and this is what divorce looks like. You're never prepared. So if you're married, stay married. It's a good thing. School's getting ready to start back up, so let's just be mindful of that. And those, if there are any groups out there that do collections for kids, that do collections for kids before the school year, and you have extras, I would encourage you, don't worry about that. You can just drop that off at a school, and the school will actually take it and they'll hold on to some of those things. As kids come in, they will address the needs. So you can just pick a school and they'll be able to take care of you that way too. So I guess that's all I've got. James?
John?
No, we're not.